With us is Delegate T. Scott Garrett. He's a Republican, and he represents the 23rd District of Virginia, which is Lynchburg and Amherst County. Dr. Garrett, great to have you with us.
Well, good morning, John, and thanks for having me on board.
Such a pleasure. Why don't we get right to Governor McDonald's transportation policy? We do have to give him credit in the fact there is a policy on the table. Doesn't really affect the Lynchburg area to the extent it does the South Side or Northern Virginia. At first pass, Dr. Garrett, what do you think of the governor's plan?
Well, John, the governor's plan really has several moving parts, and at this juncture, there are 5 parts that are still very much in play. One is to completely remove the 17.5 cents per gallon tax on gasoline that the Commonwealth of Virginia currently applies. That is projected to generate about $600 million over 5 years, to lose about $605 or so million over 5 years. He would then increase the sales and use tax from 5% to 5.8%. The third piece of it is to increase the registration fees for passenger vehicles from an additional $15. A fourth piece would be to put a new $100 alternative fuel vehicle fee. These electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles don't use very much gasoline, and yet they still, wear and tear on our roads. And the thought is, for fairness, would be to add that fee. And then last piece actually is dependent in some sense on the feds, and that is a little bit complex, but going forward, should our Virginians purchase items over the Internet, there would be a sales tax there that if they're currently not paying, the Virginia would be receiving that sales tax. It's called the Marketplace Equity Act or Marketplace Equity Process. So I think fundamentally there are several moving parts. It's very much still a fluid process here in Richmond, and it gets at this primary problem. Within a very few years, by 2017 or so, there will be no more money projected, no more money placed into construction, into new capital projects. So in the Commonwealth of Virginia, we would not be able to build new roads and bridges. All of the money that's currently being generated by the gasoline tax would be then ascribed to maintenance issues, and that is a challenge across our Commonwealth, particularly Northern Virginia and Tidewater with the congestion mitigation issues that they have. We have problems in our part of Central Virginia, and that's more with safety issues.
Right.
So we've got some huge challenges looking forward.
So, Dr. Garrett, wouldn't you then have to draw the conclusion that the General Assembly has to do something? I mean, they can't just sit back again and say, well, we don't want to raise taxes, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do that, and maybe we can find the money out of the general fund and kick the can down the road, right?
No, I would agree. I think there's a strong sentiment that we've got to do something. That the something, however, again, if it's in your backyard, it's just different. We call it NIMBY, right. Not in my backyard. And if you're in Northern Virginia or Tidewater, you need those resources to mitigate the congestion issues. Folks live 8 miles from their place of work or what have you, and it takes an hour of time or so just to travel that 8 miles. As you said earlier, John, in our part of Central Virginia, we don't have interstates. We don't have all the congestion issues. We do have safety issues, and I know I and several of our local delegates and senators are working pretty hard to make sure that some of those resources will come back to the Lynchburg district once this whatever plan is finally decided on passes.
Delegate Garrett, I would ask, you've got an interesting set of bills in your legislative agenda. One that stood out to me, House Bill 2153, which is a restriction on cash benefits, the TANF card, for buying alcohol or using them in casinos or adult establishments. Was this driven by the recent news in New York and New Jersey of those benefit cards being used in those places?
It was driven to me, or delivered to me from the Department of Social Services and from the agency itself. In February of 2012, 1 year ago, the federal government basically passed a law that said states must assure the federal government that these TANF, Temporary Assistance to Needy Families funds, are not used in any liquor store, any casino or gambling institution, or any retail establishment that provides adult-oriented entertainment. My bill, in essence, affirms that. I was quite surprised to find that in the Code of Virginia there isn't any current prohibitions on what those monies can can be used for. Currently, as our bill is going through the process, we've actually expanded that list such that any alcohol, not just simply alcohol in an ABC store, any tobacco, any lottery tickets, body piercing, tattooing facilities, as well as parimutuel betting and adult-oriented entertainment. These are not at all elements that, when this program was initially established, were envisioned. The four purposes of this temporary assistance for needy family include assisting families so that children can be cared for in their own homes, as well as reducing the dependency of needy parents by promoting job preparation. A third thing is preventing out-of-wedlock pregnancies, and then lastly, encouraging the formation and maintenance of two-parent families. Again, more family-oriented and family values issues that we all hold near and dear, and all of these elements truly are not intended at all for TANF.
And before I hand you back to John, can you give us just one or two key points in your legislative agenda that are tantamount to helping your area in Lynchburg specifically?
Well, one that I'm very excited about is establishing the Virginia Nuclear Energy Authority, and that authority would then create the Virginia Nuclear Energy Consortium. We have some major industries in our area, in the Lynchburg area, including Areva and Babcock and Wilcox, that service a large percentage of the nation's 104 nuclear power reactors. The private sector has, for the last year and a half in nuclear power, private sector has been trying to raise the bar, if you will, for nuclear energy, and to continue to affirm that Virginia will be the leader in energy production for the nation. And this bill would create a consortium of partnering our nuclear power industry, private sector folks with higher education, those research facilities, research labs, intel assets, as well as the nonprofits, in creating a consortium. Bring all these players to the table to optimize research and development, utilizing intellectual property issues, and really move the bar forward. I'm very excited about that specific bill that'll help our area. I also will be carrying legislation. 2 years ago, I carried legislation to get K2 and spice. These are very, very dangerous bioorganic chemicals intended by children to be used sort of like synthetic marijuana, but we've got all that stuff off of the shelves and off of the streets. Last year we updated that bill. I have an update legislation this year to update that as well, again to get these chemicals away from our children. And then another bill I'm very interested in pushing forward is to get ammonium nitrate, which is in cold packs. You shake cold packs and it gets very cold. The chemical in those is a chemical called ammonium nitrate. And believe it or not, that's the number one chemical now used by these cooks that are cooking or baking methamphetamine. So my bill would make possession of ammonium nitrate along with some of these other chemicals with the intent to make methamphetamine a felony.
Interesting, some very interesting issues you've got on the table. Dr. Garrett, we got a couple minutes. I want to go to politics, if I may. A very disappointing defeat for the Republicans in Virginia this past November. They couldn't carry the state for Mitt Romney, and a big victory for now Senator Tim Kaine. Obviously, your particular area had a big GOP turnout. What do you think that Republicans in Virginia have to do in order to win the state?
No, I don't know the answer to that question. I think what we will see in this upcoming November elections for statewide, for the governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general, I think there's going to be a strong affirmation that our values matter and that conservative family values truly do matter. There are too many people trying to define our values for us, and those same individuals want to spend a lot of our tax money on our values that they've defined for us, and that simply isn't right. I think a number of conservatives took for granted that, of course, that makes perfect sense, and simply didn't come out and vote this past November. I think you will see very concerted efforts to make sure that we, in fact, do get reasonable, common-sense conservatives that share our family values out to vote this election. This election will have very polar opposites certainly vying for the governorship, and I suspect we'll see as well at the lieutenant governor and attorney general's position. So it's going to be critically important for those that share our worldview and care about our families, care about the safety and security of our communities, care about our small businesses and getting folks back to work, getting those resources flowing to our families. It's going to be critically important for those folks to get out and vote this November.
So you think what the Republican Party in Virginia has to do is get back to some of the social issues? Is that what I'm understanding?
I don't think so much the social issues. I think just get back to conservative values that are common, that our founding fathers put into place years and years ago. These are just common sense values that should resonate and do resonate in our kitchens, in our living rooms, around our Commonwealth. And there are many folks that share our same values. They simply have an expectation that others will step up to the plate, and we need them to make sure that their voices are heard as well.
Okay, we're out of time. We want to thank Delegate T. Scott Garrett. He's also an MD. He is the delegate of the 23rd District of Virginia. He's a Republican representing Lynchburg and Amherst County. Dr. Scott Garrett, we want to thank you for being with us today, and thank you so much.
Indeed, John. Welcome to Lynchburg Market. Thanks for all you do for our families and for our Commonwealth. Have a blessed day.